I Need More Space by Joelene Cheney. It was a rainy Monday afternoon when Marius took out his rocket to play with. It came in 6 pieces that put together made a rocket. The last piece was a small astronaut that fit into the rocket. Marius would imagine himself as the astronaut, leading his rocket on lots of missions and adventures to different planets. He had just decided to take his rocket to explore the planet Mars when his sister's small hand reached out and grabbed the pointed piece of his rocket. Thud! It fell on the floor, breaking into pieces. The mission was aborted. "Verity, no!" he shouted. He watched as Verity put the pointed dome-shaped piece in her mouth, slobbering all over it. Yuck! He thought, with frustration. Deciding to rescue the piece, he snatched it from Verity with such force that she began to cry. Her crying brought Mummy into the bedroom he shared with his sister. "You have to understand that she's just a baby," Mommy said, scooping Verity up in her arms and giving her a cuddle. Marius remembered a time when he had his bedroom all to himself. It was a time of such bliss. His toys would lay sprawled on the floor. "They are my toys," Marius shouted in protest. "She has her own. She just wants to play with her brother's toys." Mommy tried to explain, but it was of no use. "I need more space, Mommy," Marius shouted in pure frustration. That night, when Marius went to bed, he made sure that his rocket sat high up on his desk so Verity could not reach it. When all was quiet and the night had settled in, he awoke to the sound of a loud crunch. Sitting up, he blinked a few times to adjust his eyes to the dark. Then he looked around him. All was quiet in Verity's cot at the opposite end of their bedroom. But when his eyes returned to his side of the room, he noticed a large gaping hole where once the window had been. From the large hole, the night air and darkness beckoned. Gulping, Marius took Oscar, the owl, with him to investigate. Peering out of the hole, he came face to face with his rocket. It was floating in the air. Somehow, it had grown ginormous. A door had opened outward as if waiting for him. He gulped again, rubbing his eyes just to make sure that what he saw was indeed real. When he looked again, there was the rocket with an open door, waiting. Marius loved adventures, and now that he was awake, he was quite ready for this one. The rocket door slammed shut with a loud bang. Then it zoomed upwards towards the sky. Inside the rocket, Marius looked out from the little window, seeing amazing things like his house getting smaller and smaller. They were getting closer and closer to the sun. He felt its rays reach into the rocket and blow its fiery heat onto his skin. "Wow!" he said out loud. "Look at that, Oscar!" The big, fiery yellow ball stared back at him in silence, transfixed against an inky black background that was space. "Awesome!" Wishing he could be outside to spot planets, Marius was shocked when he felt a jolt as if a large asteroid had hit the rocket. It shoved him from one corner of the rocket to the other. Then there was a loud kaboom and a plume of white smoke. Before he and Oscar found themselves floating in outer space, the rocket had disappeared. At first, he was unsure. looking about him. Then, spreading his arms and legs wide, he shouted, "There's so much space, all for me! Woohoo!" He spotted Venus and Earth, giant circles not far from the sun. "There's the moon," he called out to Oscar excitedly, pointing with his finger. He was enjoying the abundance of space he had all to himself. "Let's find my favorite planets, Mercury, Mars, and my absolute favorite, Saturn." Oscar looked on with his glassy eyes fixed on Marius in silent agreement. Marius had no idea of time as the inky black stretched out all around him. It was hunger that finally began to gnaw at Marius, reminding him of home. Marius looked back at planet Earth and wondered what Mom, Dad, and Verity would be doing now. It really isn't so much fun playing by myself, he thought. The vastness of space soon weaved a web of loneliness around his little heart, making tear after tear roll down his cheeks. Would he ever see his family again? He longed to talk to someone and have someone talk back to him. Finally, Marius looked up and spotted a light in the distance getting closer. He gasped when he recognized it to be his rocket. "Awesome!" he screamed, floating straight through the open door of the rocket. When Marius woke up, he was relieved to find that he and Oscar were back in his bedroom and he was laying in his own bed. What a dream, he thought, relieved. He could see Verity's cot and hear her gentle breathing. The gaping hole had gone. The window was back in place. Everything seemed to be as it should be. The curtains on the window were drawn halfway, revealing early morning light. Getting out of bed, he grabbed his rocket. It felt warm, and one side had a big burn on it. Now, how could that have happened? He wondered, but he was distracted by the sound of his little sister waking. Excited, Marius reached into the cot, giving Verity his rocket to play with. "Here, Verity, you can play with my rocket," he said. He was glad to see a familiar face and relieved to have just enough space to play in. The end. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please subscribe and come back again.